This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
And welcome to the latest edition of Sundays with Dominic and Vito. I am your host, Vito Churko, alongside not my brother, but a fabulous guest and a past guest of the Detroit Sports Podcast Network and the now former skipper of the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers in the United Shore Professional Baseball League, Chris Newell. And remember, a season ago in the USPBL and what was the fourth season of the league in Utica, Michigan, at Jimmy John's Field in lovely downtown Utica, Michigan, we did a weekly podcast during the USPBL season. My co-host and podcast partner in crime and fun, as I like to say, at the network, which is John Charles Macaroon. John and I co-hosted that weekly pod a year ago and would love to do it again this year. And with all of that being said, one of our past guests on that very podcast was Chris Newell, who made it to 3 championship games in his time as skipper of the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers, including winning it twice. So that's a hugely successful right there. Winning it 2 out of 3 times he made it to the championship game, but also making it to the title game 3 in 4 years. Incredible success from Chris Newell and the Beavers. But now, Chris is moving on to a gig with the Mets in their farm system as the manager of the rookie ball affiliate of the Mets in Kingsport, Tennessee, the Kingsport Mets. So he will be traveling for spring training very, very soon here to much warmer and better weather than in Michigan in Kingsport, Tennessee. And he will get the opportunity to not only experience spring training at that level in pro baseball as the skipper of a ball club, but extended spring training as he does get into during our chat on this week's episode of Sundays with Dominic and Vito. He also mentions how he will be coaching top-tier talent, first and second rounders. After they get drafted, they will be joining the Kingsport Mets. So he'll get the opportunity to coach those guys, as well as guys that have maybe gone through some more treacherous paths to reaching professional baseball. And guys from all walks of life as well, guys from various ethnicities, various countries. So he gets the opportunity to do all of that in his first gig in pro baseball as a skipper, in his first year specifically as a manager of the Kingsport Mets this upcoming season. With that being said, Chris is elated, and hey, why wouldn't he be, right? But he definitely is, and very appreciative of the opportunity delivered to him by the New York Mets. So Chris and I talk all about this great opportunity, how it came to be, what he's looking forward to with this gig, and also about what he's going to carry with him from the USPBL. You know, what his time in the United Shore Professional Baseball League meant to him, how it's developed his coaching ability into the coach that he is and the skipper that he is today. And we also dive into the fact that he trained DJ LeMahieu, the great New York Yankees utility player who was a 6-WAR player, by the way, a season ago in his first year in the Bronx. So Chris has some high praise for him and so much else he delivers on this week's episode of Sundays with Dominic and Vito. This podcast and every single episode of Sundays with Dominic and Vito is brought to you courtesy of the Detroit Sports Podcast Network, which you can find on Twitter at Detroit Podcast, also online at DetroitSportsPodcast.com. You can give me a follow as well at Vito Jerome on Twitter. With all of that being said, let me get to my chat now with Chris Newell. Enjoy. Chris Newell with me right now. Now, the former manager of the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers, which might sound weird for you to hear and for me to say now after winning 2 championships, making the title game in the USPBL 3 times, but it is the case. The former skipper of the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers and the new manager now of the Kingsport Mets, rookie ball affiliate of the New York Mets. Chris, how are you doing?
I'm doing really good. First and foremost, I want to make it known I will always be a Birmingham Bloomfield Beaver, no question. I cherish my time there in representing that, those 2 cities. Big part of where I'm at.
But being the former skipper now, I mean, how does that sound to you? Does it sound surreal after the time that you've spent there? I mean, since the league's inception in 2016, you've been the skipper of the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers. Won't be in 2020, though.
Well, it does sound a little different because I've been so accustomed to having that title. But, what we accomplished there and under that title, if you will, is kind of propelled me to where I'm at now, is Kingsport Mets, representing the New York Mets. It's a dream for sure.
And what are you going to carry with you now from the Beavers in the USPBL to the Kingsport Mets?
Well, unless the Mets tell me differently, I'm gonna continue doing what I've been doing. I think what we've been doing, or what I've been doing, has brought a lot of success over the last 4 years, and then even outside the last 21 years in my instructional business. I'm just going to continue to be me. I think me being me is probably what attracted Jared Banner and Kevin Bowles and the New York Mets to me. So, but hey, listen, I'm a very coachable coach. So if they want me to make some changes, I'm all in. Whatever we have to do to help the Mets win a World Series.
But being you, what does that mean? What do you like as a coach and as a skipper now, and what you're going to bring to the table for the Kingsport Mets?
Well, my players, my former players, can probably answer that better. But what I think I bring to the table is a lot of energy, a lot of positivity. I bring a sense of humor, laid back idea kind of. I'm more of a, my players always know where they stand. So I think communication is probably one of my better traits, but they always know where I stand, whether it's good or bad. I don't believe in keeping people hanging, and but the relationships that I have with my players, it's the most important thing.
And now you've coached with Rich Donnelly, with Mariana Duncan as well. So having those guys defending you, looking out for you, and backing you ultimately after they were with Kingsport a year ago, and now you're going to be there. So how much did they impact that decision by the Mets to hire you to become the skipper of the Kingsport Mets for 2020?
Well, Rich is going to punch me if he finds out what I'm about to say, because Rich doesn't want to take any sort of credit for anything. That's just the way he is. But bottom line, if it wasn't for Rich Donnelly and Mariano, I wouldn't have this opportunity. I really think that the Mets just got tired of hearing my name being mentioned by these two guys, and they said, the hell with it, let's just give this guy an opportunity. I'm tired of hearing his name. I think that's probably how it went down.
They were probably making a huge sales pitch, as much as possible, to get you with the Mets. Well, Rich and Mariano both. And what did you learn from the two of them with all of their coaching experience?
We don't have all day. I learned a ton, but the biggest thing that I got from them is approaching the players every day, how we go about it. And again, communication is everything. I think, as I said earlier, my players, it's important that my players know where they stand, gives them peace of mind. I know me as a young player showing up to the ballpark, not knowing what my role was, or not knowing if my coach or my manager liked me today. My players are always going to know where they stand with me. And that's a vital recipe, in order to achieve success, and we've done that.
And building relationships then, right, with the guys, inside and outside of the clubhouse. Can you elaborate upon how influential and important that is for you as a skipper of a team?
Well, let's be honest, this is the hardest game there is. And, there's a lot of pressure on these players. I mean, whether they're the Birmingham Bloomfield Beaver players or they're the Kingsport Mets players, they're putting their eggs in this basket, and they have a dream and a goal to get to the big leagues. And no one's going to put more pressure, or no one has put more pressure on my players than what they have within themselves. Right? They know what's at stake, and my job is really to manifest it, kind of get it, let them know, hey, I'm here for you. When you struggle, guess what? I'm here for you. When you're the best player on the planet on a given day, guess what? I'm here for you. There's a theme going. I'm there for them, and there's not a better feeling whether you're an athlete or whether you're a child, knowing that the person in charge of the family, if you will, believes in you. There's not a better feeling.
And then they can trust in you. And they have to trust in you. If they're going to run through a brick wall for you, right, and be perhaps as productive as possible, as they possibly can be, more than likely, they have to respect you first, right, and trust in you. And then, like you said, what you're getting at, I think, as well, Chris, is that you can make them comfortable. By them being able to respect and trust in you, they're going to go out there and be calm, cool, and collective at the plate or on the pitcher's mound or wherever they are on the baseball diamond, right?
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I remember Rich telling me one day, he goes, you know what made Leland great? And I'm like, God, let's go. Like anytime Richie opens his mouth, I'm going to listen, right?
Like the Godfather, you said, right?
Richie,
with all his stories. When he speaks, you better listen, and you do.
He is the Godfather. But, he said, he goes, you want to know why every player that ever played for Jim Leland, why they were willing to run through a brick wall for him? And of course, I'm why? He goes, because he would run through a brick wall for them. And he said, you remind me a lot of that because you're like this with these guys, right? And I think hearing that from a guy like Rich, and make no mistake about it, Jim Leland and Chris Newell should not be mentioned in the same sentence. So I'm not going that route by any means. But it's nice to know that somebody who was with Jim Leland for so long and then spent some time with me, recognize something similar. And that's always been my goal, because my success, I don't have success unless my players have success. So my success is dependent upon them. And at the end of the day, that's what this is about. It is about the players, and it has to be.
And Rich said that you remind him of Jim Leland. Well, you said that at one point, that you have some similarities and some characteristics then, right?
Yeah, and probably just because of maybe how I always took the time to get to know my players, both obviously athletically but personally, right? It'd be that's our job as a manager. I'm in charge of 25 guys. If you're a hitting coach, you're in charge of just the position players. If you're the pitching coach, you're overseeing 12, 13 guys on your pitching staff. As a manager, you're responsible for everybody. And I've always looked at it. If I don't care if you're the worst player on my team or the best player on my team, if you've got the same uniform on as me, guess what? We're family. We're doing this together. And you don't have to like everybody. You don't have to hang out with everybody. But when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, we all have to know that we all have one another's back. And not to go back to my state championship team, but we were a bunch of misfits. We had cliques over here, cliques over there, outside of the ball field. But as soon as we laced up our last spike, we take that field. Nobody I love more than what these guys are right now. I love these guys more than anything, and we're going to do this together. And that culminated in a great success story as a state champion. And that is that I learned a lot, taking that into my opportunity with the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers. And I don't think, I'm not anticipating any change in my approach. Again, unless the Mets want me to do something a little bit different, I'm on board. Whatever
you're coachable. Well, then you'll listen.
I'm a very coachable coach. Yes.
But ultimately, everybody is wired differently, and you probably find that out even more, and maybe even the hard way at times when you're the manager of a team. And I think especially with baseball, and like you said, these guys can be from different walks of life, can go out and do different things in their spare time and have different kinds of extracurricular activities and hobbies. But getting everybody on the same page, Chris, how important is that for you as a skipper? And how tough is that at times when these guys are all different? And like I said, truly wired differently.
Well, it's the most important thing. And it's important to, in my opinion, I think it's important to team success. It's also important to individual success, because if you're a me guy first, I always say this: if you're that type of guy, boy, you better never struggle, because no one's going to be there to pick you up. If you're a team first guy, then you're going to have everybody that's wearing that same uniform. They're going to be there to pick you up, and it's easy to do what you do when things are going well, but this game, things are going to go bad more times than what they are going to go good. So the more allies you have, well, the quicker you're going to fix the problem, and then the quicker you're going to enjoy success, and that's the ultimate goal.
Now, dealing with every single individual inside the clubhouse, these guys, like I said, can be different. So you have to treat them differently, I would think. What do you have to say about that? I even think of Jim Leland with the Pirates, managing Barry Bonds, managing star caliber players and talent, and then you manage a guy that maybe is just a role player like a Don Kelly like he did with the Tigers, or a Ryan Rayburn with the Tigers. You kind of have to deal with them differently, right? And manage them in a different manner. Can you touch upon that a little bit in your shoes and what you've dealt with over the years?
Yes, everybody's different, and it's no different than, the quote unquote teacher's pet, right? Coach's favorite. Like, well, listen, we all have them, and any coach or teacher that tells you that they don't, they're lying, right? My favorites are the guys that are reliable. I want reliable guys. If I can count on my guy, he's loyal, or he's reliable and he's loyal to me, the organization, and his teammates. Yeah, you're my favorite guy automatically. And if you're not that, well, it's my job to get you there. And if we don't get you there, if we can't get you there, it's going to be a long season, if you will. But it is very important. And I'm going to be dealing with first round picks who signed for millions of dollars. I'm going to be managing guys who were a 5th-year senior sign and had to probably pay his own bus ticket to get there. That's great. It doesn't matter if they're wearing the same uniform as me. We're all in this together. I'm also going to be, different backgrounds, different, players from different countries, who are going to have some language issues, if you will, and my job is to be able to relate to those guys. Vito, when you and I touch base again later on, my Spanish is going to be a heck of a lot better than what it is now. But again, that's my job. I'm the leader. The Mets have hired me to be the leader of their Kingsport team, and I'm going to do whatever the heck I have to do to make every single player feel like they can count on me.
And your job isn't just to develop and get one guy better for that team, right? You're going to have to develop all these guys, and they're from different walks of life,
sure,
different ethnicities, a different kind of playing backgrounds, right? And different kind of talents and ability and skill sets. You name it. Like you said, you're going to have first and second rounders because it's a rookie ball affiliate of the Mets too in Kingsport. So you're going to have that, but then you're going to have some guys that maybe have had a more treacherous path to that level of pro baseball. So it's guys from everywhere with different backgrounds. But ultimately, I want to get to this. I see a parallel, and you obviously probably do yourself, Chris, from the USPBL to Kingsport, because you are developing these guys, even in Kingsport, to obviously move up the ranks as time goes on. So you want the family feel and vibe and environment, but as you know, these guys are going to leave you maybe after a month if they're really progressing.
Well, that's the only thing I can control is who's in my clubhouse and wearing the same uniform as me. The Mets are going to make the decisions, as to who they want up in advancing, and unfortunately they're going to make the decision, or unfortunately for the said players, the Mets are going to make the decisions on who's no longer going to be with the organization. That's out of my control. My job description is to groom these players, teach them how to be professionals, both on and off the field. In my opinion, it's the most important job being a manager is the most important job, especially in the low levels. It's the most important job in an organization. And I'm beyond lucky and blessed and thankful that they've chosen me to help facilitate these young kids.
And in that developmental side of the sport of baseball, I see that parallel for you as a coach going once again from the USPBL to Kingsport with the Mets. Can you touch upon that too?
Well, you talk about the Birmingham Bloomfield Beaver players, and they obviously did what they did. Right, they went on. They showed the community, and they showed the league what they're made of, and and I'm probably going to go off. I mean, what's the other part of your question was what? Because I don't want to go off.
The parallel between the two.
Well, it's still about development. Development. That's all there is. And when you talk about development, that's such a broad topic, right? We're developing these players as players, but it's also we're going to develop these guys as young men, young professionals. So, whether I've got a Latin kid or whether I've got a Long Beach, raised kid, or it doesn't matter. We're all the job description's the same. My job description will vary, or the job description is the same, but my approach to development is going to change from player to player, and I'm still learning on that. I think I'll always be learning on that. But that being said, I think that's what makes great coaches and great leaders is they adapt to their players. And that's something that I take a lot of pride in, and that's something that, to me, is super duper important.
Guys have to keep adjusting. And the best coaches, it seems like at any level, do adjust and adjust with the times. And I want to get into youth baseball now a little bit. We chatted off air as well about that. And I viewed it and labeled it as an epidemic, what's been happening at youth baseball. Can you touch upon that yourself, what you've seen from afar and up close when it comes to youth baseball?
I witness it every single day. And I mean, listen, I'm a parent. I've got a beautiful 21-year-old daughter out in Los Angeles, thriving and doing her thing. So I'm a parent and I get it. But I will go on record. I will say that I think you mentioned the epidemic, the declining numbers in Little League Baseball. And I hate to say it, but it is because of the parents. It is. And it's unfortunate. I don't let parents in my facility, during lessons. And, I look at it this way. When they ask, I says, well, let me ask you this. Does your son's teacher allow you to sit in the back of the classroom when school is in session? If the answer is yes, then bring a note and I'll let you sit in. But other than that, I'm not trying to develop your son for you. It's not about you. It's about your son. You're bringing him to me. And so you're going to have to trust the process. And I see it time and time again. I mean, the word coach gets thrown around so loosely. Like I laugh every time I see, some guy or a mom with a T-shirt on and it says coach on the back. Like, wow, that's kind of this is a profession. This is a damn important profession. Just because I brush my teeth twice a day doesn't mean I'm a dentist. Right? So I'm not just going to sit there and classify myself as a coach. You're a volunteer. That's what you're doing. You're volunteering your time. And if you're doing it for the right reasons, you're going to be responsible for all 12 kids on your team. You're not just there to protect your kid. And I see that time and time again. And what ends up happening is these coaches are in it for the wrong reasons. They're doing it to protect their kid. And what ends up happening is a kid who's, let's admit he's better. He's more talented. He's got a better upside. He's got a better future. But he's playing your son's position. So he's not going to play that position. And the kid thinks that he's doing something wrong. That's why he's not playing, or that's why he's sitting down at the bottom of the order. Yet the coach's kid, who probably isn't good enough to be out there, he's hitting first, second, or third, and he's playing first, he's catching, he's playing short, or he's pitching, right? Because the dad is trying to showcase his kid. And then the kid who's more deserving, we lose that kid because he thinks he's not any good. And it sucks.
The kids go on and play other sports. And it's that preferential treatment, the favoring of the child, the son or the daughter, when he or she isn't as capable as these other kids on the bench or playing at another position. Mm-hmm. And they could be playing the position of that kid that's being favored by the father, right?
Without a doubt.
And that's the problem I see. And I had it where I still had big numbers when I was playing among my peers. I played myself growing up, loved youth baseball. But now kids, as you said yourself, Chris, are dropping off, man, and like flies, right? I mean, they're moving on to other sports. And because they don't realize physically and emotionally yet how to deal with everything and how to cope with all of it, right?
You're
so once they have
right.
some struggle, they're giving up and moving on to another sport.
Yeah, well, and it is very unfortunate. And when you talk about the kids who, we talked earlier about baseball being the most important game, and off the air, if you will. But baseball is so vital in life, and it teaches life lessons. And oftentimes when I see these kids dropping out of baseball, again, I think it does go back to the parents because there's no accountability there. Kid struggles, it's the coach's fault. Well, why don't you tell your kid to work a little harder? Mom and dad, instead of going out and, partying until, 2 a.m, Friday and Saturday night, why don't you wake up early and get your kid to a hitting coach or a pitching coach? Let them learn how to do things the right way, because 99% of the coaches out there don't know what the heck they're teaching anyway. And I would much rather, I had a mom, I don't know, a couple of years ago. She's like in a panic. She's like, Chris, can you help us find a new coach or a different team for my son? And I was like, okay, well, first off, what's the issue? Oh my God, he's not being taught anything. And I said, you're lucky. And she's like, why? I go, you're lucky. 99% of the coaches are teaching the wrong damn thing. Your kid's not being taught anything. So that's a good thing. I'd rather have somebody out there not teaching anything, but at least teach life lessons, because that's what this is at the end of the day. That's what it's about at this level, right? And so, when the woman kind of realized, and I says, is your kid playing shortstop? Is he playing every inning of every game? Oh my God, yeah, he's hitting third and fourth every game. I says, keep him on this team. He's doing fine. I says, you're bringing him in to see me for an hour every week. He's learning the game the right way through me.
And then these kids need repetition as well. But really quick, back on the parents, I view it like they're coaching from afar too. So even if they're,
oh God, yes,
even if they're not in the dugout or on the basketball court on the bench, right, for their teams, they're coaching in the stands, man, and they're killing the refs and the umps when it comes to baseball. I mean, I umped youth baseball, Chris. Had to deal with the parents. They were worse than the kids, and I gave it up, and I was never going into it like full time. I never actually viewed it as my career one day. But if you did, man, I'm telling you, at a young age, 10, 11, 12, and you're dealing with that, the wrath, so-called of the parents, kids are going to give it up.
No doubt.
And they have. And I did the same thing with the youth level players.
Yeah, well, no, you're right. And the thing is, a buddy of mine, I'm going to give him a little plug, but our varsity coach at Our Lady of the Lakes, Mark Summers, also coaches the CYO team. Best coach, best boys coach around. I tell you what, we are blessed to have the staff that we have at Lakes, both boys and girls. But, Mark, they won a game the other day at the buzzer, inbound play, and Mark was listening. You hear the parents coaching from the stands on the other team, and so Mark, obviously always a step ahead, called timeout, designed a play, and let the parents from the stands, because they know the kids are going to listen. So Mark designed the play opposite of what the parents were telling the kid, not the coach, but what the parents were screaming from the stands. Easy bunny layup. His son, Grant, coincidentally ends up scoring the winning bucket. Again, parents, just shut up. Shut up and enjoy the ride, because here's the cold-hearted truth, parents. Your kid is not nearly as good as you think he is. He's not even half as good as you think he is. So let's just go out and let's enjoy the kid competing, have fun. If your kid's not giving his all, he's got a bad attitude, he's got bad body language, then you say something. Other than that, keep your mouth shut and enjoy the competition, because there's a 99.99999% that your kid's not going to ever go into play in college, let alone pro ball.
And that's why I was going to actually ask you that. So piggybacking off of that, these parents think their kids are the best kids imaginable, known to human life, and nobody else can compete with them. Yeah, most of the time, and that's the percentage then, Hunter, or what is it truly of these guys being able to get to pro ball, which is minor league baseball. People don't get that either. That's pro ball. What Chris Newell is going to be coaching with the Kingsport Mets, it's rookie ball, but it's pro ball in the Mets farm system.
Yeah.
So,
no, you're right.
About that.
I don't know what the percentage is.
But it's low. I mean, we know
it's super low. I mean, I think if you make it to the big leagues, you're what? You're in the 2 percentile of the best players. So even
just to reach the minors then, right? To reach rookie ball, to reach Kingsport, but the Kingsport Mets.
Right.
The odds are not in your favor, obviously.
Exactly. And I kid people all the time. I says, yeah, you know what? I played parts of 2 years of professional baseball, and God, I was like in the top 5 or 7% of the best baseball players in the world, right? But unfortunately, I just wasn't in that 2%, right? It's hard. I probably shouldn't have gotten to that way, but gotten to that level, but I persevered, and that's the biggest life lesson that I learned. Was I got knocked down so many times, and thankfully I had a great mom and dad who always said, "Chris, if that's your goal, keep going. Don't let anybody tell you can't." Nowadays, kid struggles with something or deals with a little bit of adversity. There's no accountability on the parents. And we'll just he decided he just wanted to stop playing. Oh, okay, so it wasn't easy. So you're teaching your kid to just stop and quit and go do something else. And again, it's everybody else's fault. It's the coach's fault as to why the kid didn't have success. Instead of looking at our kid and saying, guess what? You need to start working a little harder. You need to start acting like a little baby out on the field or on the court when things don't go your way. And, DJ LeMahieu,
a guy that you've trained now, who's a stud in the majors too.
A guy like DJ, and I'll even throw Jacob Cronenworth in that mix, who's going to be in the big leagues this year with the Padres.
Two-way player, you said, right?
Two-way guy, yeah. The remarkable thing about those guys is that you wouldn't know by watching a ball game if you got there at halftime or you got there in the 5th inning. You wouldn't know if these guys were 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts and 2 errors, or you wouldn't know if they were 3 for 3 with 3 grand slams. You wouldn't know because they flatline it. Right, their demeanor is they're pros all across the board. They carry themselves the right way. I get it. Not everybody's like that. There's some fiery guys out there that have success. There's nothing wrong with that. But when I see these kids out there, and they're just, for lack of a better term, they're little babies. They're
soft, right? Unfortunately.
Well, where do you think they get that from?
The upbringing. It starts at home, right?
The parents.
I agree.
I don't care what anybody says. It's never going to change. It's always going to fall on the parents. Period. And that's the problem. And which I don't get. I really don't get, because we grew up in an era where our parents weren't soft with us. Like they pushed
they told
us.
You
right?
Like it is,
and
right?
So most of us thrived because of that upbringing. So these same people that thrived with that upbringing, they're now parents. Why are you deviating away from what your parents did on how they raised you? And that's the issue.
And failure is a part of the game of life. It is a part of the game of baseball. Mm-hmm. What we're talking about right now, persevering through trials and tribulations. You're going to go days like DJ LeMahieu, who's a stud, goes 0 for 3, 0 for 4 at times. He doesn't even get one hit, yet he's an all-star caliber player. So
he's
failure,
the best player in the game.
And I know you said already, probably could debate that with you, but no, I get it. He's good. And honestly, I have said it before. I know you would think I'm biased, or somebody would think I'm talking with you, Chris, because you trained him. But I've said it before. Like the most under-the-radar dude, an unheralded acquisition made last offseason was the Yankees getting DJ LeMahieu. He's versatile.
Yeah, best
and they had injuries
pickup.
Filled in, hit everywhere, fielded everywhere. Greatest pickup possible, but really quick about baseball and the game. It's the game of failure, and it teaches you life lessons subsequently. And it's the toughest sport as well, isn't it?
Well, it is. It's the toughest sport that any young kid or any player is going to try to play. The game is based on failure, and through my private instruction for years, I've been teaching. Hey, I've been telling these kids, as soon as you put a uniform on, you're setting yourself up for failure. Because if you go out and hit 400 this year, man, that's a heck of a year. The reality is you stunk 60% of the time. You fail 60% in your math class. Mom and dad are getting a phone call, right? And that's just so that's the beauty of the game, because you are 100% fact going to fail more than you're going to succeed. And I think it teaches so many great lessons and principles in life. If these parents and these kids would just slow down and analyze that and think about that. batting averages for me are they're the most outrageous thing in the world, especially at the young levels. Your kid didn't hit 600. Your kid didn't hit 530. No, he didn't. Okay, and don't worry about that.
And guess what? Because he's not going to hit it at the next level anyways,
exactly,
right?
Exactly. And so through all my instruction, all my years of managing and coaching, for me, it's about teaching the game within the game. And letting these guys know and these young kids know it's not about getting a hit all the time. You can have a great at-bat and help your team by making an out. It's okay, right?
It is.
Learn how to play the game. And these coaches need to teach the game within the game, because if you don't, then what's going to end up happening is you're going to lose these kids because, I only hit 217 or I only hit 243 and I don't want to play anymore. But they don't realize that their production at the plate was, as far as having quality at bats and making productive outs, was probably 70%, right? But they don't. But the parents don't know that.
So they're not teaching those kids on those teams that.
And the coaches,
right?
quote unquote,
the so-called coaches, really, they're not qualified to coach. You are.
Exactly.
You're a professional. You get paid to do it. There's a difference between the two, but. Baseball is the best sport and the toughest sport, though, too.
Sure.
And people think it's easy, Chris. And I bet you hear that yourself. They think, nothing. I can play this. Let me strap it up. I'm going to go out there, field ground balls with the hot corner even, and go hit, 300, 400. It's not that easy, man.
It's
not. And in the mental aptitude portion of it, too, which you were getting at.
Yeah.
God, you need that to be able to persevere through the tough times once again.
Well, it's, I put it this way, having the ability mentally to deal with failure is ultimately why you're going to be successful, or at least have a chance at being successful. It's easy to be confident when you're swinging the bat well, or when you're making your 3-pointers. When things are going well, it's easy, right? It's easy to feel good about yourself. But find me that guy or that girl that actually, when things are going bad, they still continue to believe in themselves. Those are the kids or the players who are going to do something, because it's you're one swing away from getting into a slump. You're one swing away from getting out of a slump, and whatever side of the fence you go to is 100% dictated on what's between your ears. And that's why this game is so great.
And you need the repetition. You really do, right? If you want to develop the consistency, which is essential, right, to play at any level, realistically, and consistency, once again, is hitting 300 as a batter. But repetition, and it brings me back to what you're doing now with the Kingsport Mets, coming up very soon here, leaving for spring training. Now, how fast-paced of a season will it be for you guys? Because I heard it's going to be pretty darn fast-paced for you guys.
Well, obviously, we get down to spring training and get our workouts in, and then we're going to have what we call extended spring training at our level. So when the big club and the full season teams, the AAA, AA, both A-ball clubs, they're going to play what they call a full season, 140 games, typical minor league season, if you will. When those guys break camp, at the same time, which is, I believe, end of March, our group, us in Brooklyn, so Kingsport, Brooklyn, and Gulf Coast, which is in St. Lucie, we will stay back for what they have extended spring training. And then, we'll work with those guys, and we'll play some spring training games against, the Astros, the Pirates, the Cardinals, everybody that's in the Grapefruit League. And then obviously the draft will come, the first part of June, and then obviously, we'll draft some guys, and they'll send some of those guys to me, some of those guys to Brooklyn, some of those guys will stay in St. Lucie for the Gulf Coast team, and some guys might end up starting in Columbia, which is low A in South Carolina. But our season, we're going to play, I don't quote me on this, but I want to say we're in the ballpark of, it's either 68 ball games in 71 days or 70 games in 73 games or 73 days. So it's going to be, that's what baseball's supposed to be. You play every day. And baseball is a repetition game, as you said. And looking forward to it. And I'd put it this way: if I'm not going to be on my boat in the summer, I'd rather be on a baseball field.
And you will be for 3 months, almost every single darn day.
For sure.
But that's what you live for,
Yeah,
right?
I'd rather
You're a baseball lifer.
Yeah, I'd rather be on the baseball field than my boat. But I make no mistake about this. I'm lucky. I'm blessed. I'm excited, and I'm going to an organization. I've been in dialogue with this organization for really a year now, and every single person that I've been in contact with, which is quite a few people, their communication skills are through the roof. I mean, they should actually do a teaching segment on how to deal and how to communicate with people, because I've never seen anything like it. Honest to God.
What have the Mets told you about the position, by the way? The guys that you're speaking of, and with their communication ability and how great it has been. What have they communicated to you about the job as you get ready to take it on?
Well, it's basically, Jared Banner called me a week after they had me out to San Diego for the winter meetings. He offered me the position. It was, I can honestly tell you, it was the best day of my career that I've ever had. And being in this game, it's a day that I'll never forget. And he just basically, offered me the position to manage in Kingsport. And then it was followed up by Kevin Bowles, his dad John Bowles, longtime big league guy, former manager of the Marlins too. So he's a baseball lifer. Has had a ton of success as a minor league manager, and now he's our field coordinator. He called and couldn't be more excited for me. And again, just the confidence that they've given in me. I feel like I'm the greatest manager in the history of baseball. That's how these guys make me feel. And you know what? It's my job to make my players feel like they're the greatest players in the game. And that confidence goes a long way. It really does. And it's already done a lot for me. And I think what it's done, it's validated what has been accomplished in the USPBL. And again, it goes back to my players. Thank you to my players. I mean, you guys are why I'm here doing this interview.
All about the players, and you need the talent once again. So, if you're thinking about getting into the game of baseball today, we've harped upon youth baseball a lot today, and the epidemic with the numbers dwindling so much in every single state throughout the nation. But if you're thinking about playing, let's say, just getting into it right now, what would be your sales pitch to those individuals?
Well, I would say I would want to get in touch with the parents. I'd want to get their eye and their ear, and I would say this: how important is it to you that down the road your kid becomes successful, understands the meaning and the importance of perseverance? And how important is it to you that your son or daughter learns how to deal with adversity? And you know what their answer? It's very important. That's what their answer is going to be, and that's what it should be. Okay, have them play baseball. I don't care if he's the best player out there. I don't care if he's the worst player out there. But by playing baseball, it is going to teach and develop all those essential, important qualities in order to become successful. Now, if you don't play baseball, it doesn't mean you're not going to become all those great things. That's obvious. But playing baseball will teach all that stuff to you. And I've got buddies of mine that stopped playing when we were 10, but they played t-ball. They played a couple years of Little League. They're super successful now. They still love the game, but they whatever. Maybe family situations didn't allow them to pursue playing, or maybe they developed a love for something else. But just get out there and do something. Whether it's baseball, yeah, of course I'm biased to baseball. But play sports, and don't just play one. Play multiple.
Multi-sport athlete.
Multi-sport.
That's big. In the NFL, last year's draft, like 28 of the 32 teams in the first round took a guy that was a multi-sport athlete. So 28 of the 32 picks in the NFL draft were multi-sport athletes, Chris.
Yep.
Piggybacking off of your point and kind of emphasizing how important it is to do more than one sport.
I tell you what, I'm known as a baseball guy, if you will, but truth be told, I really, really, really enjoyed my time playing basketball. I was All-State twice, loved it, All-Catholic twice, great teammates, great teams. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about my time playing basketball. I thought I was going to play basketball in college, and for whatever reason, I know the reasons, but the baseball thing worked out. But playing basketball made me a better baseball player. Playing baseball made me a better basketball player. And when I say better, that yes, I think they both made me better athletically, but what they made me better in was taking a break. I see these kids now, and I mean, for the record, I will not do pitching lessons with young kids in the months of September, October, November, December. I won't do. I'll do pitching lessons, but we won't throw. Kids got to take a break, right? Case in point, I'm going to give my girlfriend Beth a little plug, but her son, basketball player, and played year round. Got burnt out a little bit last year and quit playing. I wasn't sure if he was going to try out for the high school team as a freshman. And, and I said, hey, buddy, if you need a break, take a break. And I told him I took a break in baseball when I was older, when I was in high school, my junior year, and I didn't play one summer. It was the best thing that ever happened to me because it took me away from it. It gave me a break. And now her son, he took that break, and he's an outstanding young basketball player. He's going to be a great high school player, and this kid is motivated through the roof to excel, and it's all because he took that break. And he took a break and tried to play baseball for a little bit, and good for him.
The best ball players, I mean, you see it in a lot of the sports, are the multi-sport athletes once again, and they take a break every once in a while. Kids get burnt out, and you see in the AAU circuit, especially in basketball,
you're right,
where these kids get burnt out, or with ice hockey, traveling year-round, all of that money for the parents and traveling time and time where you're away from your friends and family members kills these kids.
It does.
It stunts their growth inside the classroom and socially with their friends. And then it's like when they get to college, they don't know what to do. And when they try to go get a job during college and or after college, they don't know how to socially, articulate their thoughts and get to the point where they're ready to take on the workforce, So you see that, I think, too, these kids where their growth is stunted in that capacity.
You couldn't be more spot on with that. And it, I think everything happens so fast. And the reality is these, the kids, first and foremost, don't get a chance to breathe. The parents don't get a chance to breathe because, how many times, they're these kids are eating fast food all the time because that's all they have time for because, I got to get him to the ice rink. I got to get him to the ball field, or I got to get him here or her there. And it's like, just sit back and sometimes the best exercise is rest. Mm-hmm. And you got to recharge those batteries. And, I know for a while, in the off season, I don't want to get DJ in trouble contractually, but a couple off seasons he was playing in a basketball league, played in a flag football league, right? Even and was a very well established major leaguer already, on his way to the Hall of Fame at that point. And he was playing other sports still, but he also had downtime. And these kids and these parents just don't do it. And it's such a detriment.
Sit back and relax every once in a while. DJ LeMahieu, now, he's the best player in the game today, in your opinion. You just said Hall of Famer. I just heard you say that. That came out of your mouth for the first time since I've talked to you about DJ. Now, okay, so make your case then for him being a Hall of Famer. And I know it's more about as time goes on. As time goes on is what you're saying, too.
He's not a Hall of Famer.
Why would that be, you think, as time goes on in his career, where he would become a Hall of Fame caliber player?
Well, he's got a batting title, Major League Baseball batting title to his resume. That's big time, obviously. I believe he has 3 Gold Gloves. He's got, I believe, 3 All-Star Game appearances. There's 2 things that he will get. He will get a World Series ring, and he will get an MVP. I really believe that. He makes every team better. I mean, Do the Yankees make the postseason without DJ LeMahieu this year? Or in 2019?
With all their injuries, Didi Gregorius hurt, all these other different dudes. Their injuries at first base, and he played first base like you said too.
Well, here's a guy. He didn't even start opening day, and I got my buddies busted my chops. Man, your boy's not even starting opening day. I said, don't worry. There's 161 more games left.
And he did play eventually, and he put on a show in the Bronx, didn't he? He put a big-time show. Look where the Rockies are without him, right? They're not even close to contending. And I'm going to say something, and I mentioned the Hall of Fame thing with him, and I'll get to that. But what I'm about to say is you got to hear me out on this, Vito. He's mentally, first off, he's built for the Bronx. The only other player in my lifetime, or in my era, if you will, that I know was built for the Bronx was Derek Jeter. And I can promise you DJ LeMahieu is cut from the exact same cloth as what Derek Jeter was. Both from Michigan. So Derek Jeter prototype because he's calm, cool, and collective, right?
And always has a knack for coming through. Nothing phases the guy. And I said that earlier. You wouldn't know if DJ was 4 for 4 with 4 homers, or you wouldn't know if he was 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts and 2 errors. He has that mentality. That's obviously a testament to his mom and dad, but that's something he has within himself personally. Not too many guys do. But as far as DJ and his Hall of Fame, if he keeps doing what he's doing, I mean, he's going to be embarking on 3,000 hits, if not more. I mean, that
gets into the Hall of Fame, right? So there's one thing right there in his favor, definitely.
And you will never hear about any off-field issues with DJ or any rumors or nothing. He's
under the radar dude, right?
In everything he does.
Is he more to himself too?
Yeah.
And that's what I thought. Kind of gives off that vibe.
I mean, he's a very loyal guy to his friends, his family. He doesn't like the spotlight. But if you're going to give it to him, then he's gonna show you why he's in the spotlight, right? He's just that guy, and not too many guys are like that. And my relationship with him over the years, since him and I first met, has been very special. DJ is a big part of where I'm at, and he won't probably want to take any credit, but he's a big part of this.
And what he is today as a player, so on and off the field, is a testament, to his upbringing, his parents,
100%,
his Catholic education, Birmingham Brother Rice. I got to bring that up because I went to DLSL, so I'm a Catholic League boy myself. So I think that really does pay dividends, and I think it has definitely for DJ as well. Well,
when you come from, just because you come from great people doesn't mean you're going to turn out great. We've seen both sides of it. We've seen, in all my years of training kids and managing guys, I've seen kids that come from wonderful families and they turn out to be idiots. And the flip side, I've seen, the reverse. I've seen, kids that come from tough backgrounds and horrible families, and they turn out to be successful. As far as DJ's concerned, he's a product of his preparation. You'll never find anybody that will say one negative word about him. And at the end of the day, he's a guy that every club wants on his team and every player wants on his team.
Let's get him to the Tigers one day. He's a guy I'm holding out hope because he's a hometown guy that he plays for the Detroit Tigers one day. I don't know, but I think he's a free agent coming up again soon. So it'd be terrific to see him.
I think this is his last year.
Be terrific to see him in Motown. I mean, you might be thinking the Mets now, but I'm thinking the Tigers, man. As a hometown Tigers fan, that'd be terrific for the Tigers.
He's going to go to a big market or stay in a big market because he's going to get paid.
Oh, yeah. He has another great year. And so you say the best player right now in the game today. So I want to get off of that.
No, he's not the most talented, but he's the best.
All around?
He's the best baseball player in the game. And I think you can disagree, and that's fine. That's a great argument.
It is great debate for another day. I would say.
And I'll leave you this with DJ. This is how special of a player he is. Forget the fact that he's a special human being. We're talking players. He is. If I'm Aaron Boone, and I'm in the 7th game of the World Series, and I'm out of pitching, Or if I've got one guy left in the bullpen and he's not real good, he's not very reliable, Aaron Boone, throw DJ LeMahieu on the pitcher's mound, and he will find a way to put a ring on your finger.
You can trust him that much in a Game 7 situation. That's impressive and saying a lot about DJ LeMahieu, the player.
Zero question.
That's incredible. And now there's two-way players, Shohei Ohtani and other dudes, up-and-coming guys. Now, so leaving from that topic, because we could debate that every single day of the week. Any day that ends in Y's, I like to say jokingly all the time.
Right.
But best player all time that you've seen yourself in your lifetime, who is that for you? Well, now really probably making you think. And you might maybe give me one position player and one pitcher then.
So the best player of all time, I think, is Barry Bonds. You can say what you want, the steroids and all that other stuff.
So I'm thinking you should, or you're thinking that he should be in the Hall of Fame is what I'm gathering.
I mean, if he was a Hall of Famer, as everybody knows, he was a Hall of Famer before the alleged steroid use and everything else. He was the best player in the game and wasn't even close. And
a true 5-tool player with the Pirates,
100%.
right? When he was thinner, could run the bases, right, field.
Yep, and. I would say Barry Bonds. I think obviously the next best thing is Mike Trout. I mean, he's fun to watch, obviously, but he's still got time left in his career. But as far as pitchers, for my money, there's nobody better than Jack Morris. I mean,
big game pitcher right there, Come right? On. We just talked about a Game 7 situation.
Yeah.
And a Game 7, you're throwing him, right?
Well, yeah. Are you kidding me?
And more than Verlander? Because Verlander's been talked about now as a big game.
Come on.
But we can look at his record, too, right? His record in the World Series. I'll give you that much, and I agree, World Series-wise, not as good. Now, in the other playoff series...
Then I'm going to say this, and Verlander's World Series ring, everybody knows. I'm not the first one to say it's tainted. Everybody
Especially
knows
now,
that,
right?
And you came into the team, more than halfway through. You can say what you want about that. But, Jack Morris has got 4 World Series rings. 1 with the Tigers, 1 with the Twins, and 2 with the Blue Jays, right? Now, he was the dude on 3 or 4 of those World Series rings, right? Verlander's had the Scherzers in the world. He's had the other guys helping out, which everybody needs help. Don't make no mistake about that. But for my money, bottom line, Jack Morris. And people don't realize too, Jack Morris, big time athlete. Sparky would put him in late in the game to pinch run because obviously he was athletic. Obviously he had wheels. His baseball IQ, his base running ability was through the roof. And as a guy, who loves the game itself, like in the game within the game, people don't realize how special of a player Jack Morris was. How he helped his team win games with his wheels too. Pitchers don't do that.
And the winningest pitcher of the 80s was Jack Morris, which I know it might be weird that I would know that as a 26-year-old dude. But I love my baseball. I bet you can tell that, too, from my love of baseball. And so it was controversial when he got in, finally, into the Hall of Fame. Jack Morris, too. Why. It took him so long.
You know what's controversial about that? Is that he didn't get in sooner.
And with the Baseball Writers Association of America, they failed to vote him in. He got in via the Modern Baseball Era Committee along with Alan Trammell. Yeah. I loved how it was those two guys, only Tigers. It was like a Tigers Hall of Fame from the Modern Baseball Era Committee. But then...
Lou Whitaker should have been the trio.
I was thinking when you said, you're going to bring up Sweet Lou, who should be in at this point. Well, and based on WAR, that stat alone, he kills everybody in the Hall of Fame. And so if they care so much about that stat nowadays, which they do, and I care about it myself as a baseball fan, he's a home run. He's a home run to make it into the Hall.
Lou Whitaker should have been in the Hall of Fame 8 years after he retired. Worst case, 10 years after he retired. Jack Morris should have been the same, and Alan Trammell should have been the same. If not, maybe sooner for those guys. I mean, as a Tiger fan growing up, and knowing 2 of the 3 personally, they don't get any better. And the guys doing the voting now, I mean, the question,
questionable is what you're trying to get at?
well, I mean, those guys wore black socks during gym class when black socks weren't popular, and I'd like to find out how it felt for them when they got cut from their t-ball teams.
And pretty much you're trying to say they weren't athletes. They didn't play the sport.
And I'm not
more
saying
than likely, because not everybody,
Yep,
remember,
no,
but,
you're right. And
but I think more than likely.
a lot of them.
Yeah,
and
more than likely.
And I'm not saying that you have to have played the sport to have credibility. I'm not saying that at all. I mean, I never stepped foot in the big leagues as a player, and I've got this wonderful opportunity with the Mets and their minor league system. So I'm not saying that by any means, but my God, I mean, it's the old saying, numbers don't lie.
Mm-hmm.
And Lou Whitaker's numbers don't lie. Alan Trammell and Jack Morris's numbers don't lie. Right? They just all of a sudden put up more numbers after their career? No, their career numbers are what they are. They were like that in 94, 95, and 96. I think that's when they all retired. Jack went first, and then Tram, and then Lou. Their numbers haven't changed. Why did it take so long for these guys to get in? The first, Jack and Alan. Why?
It's travesty.
It's
And then,
awful.
thinking of the Hall of Fame voters, and I can tell what you think about them. How about the latest with Derek Jeter getting in, but missing out on the unanimous vote by one vote, and that voter's been withholding
Of course,
his name or her name, right? Him or her, whoever it is. We don't know who that individual is. Really? A coward, can we say? I mean, man up or woman up. I mean, whoever it is. I want to know who you are.
Somebody wants to be the hero. Somebody wants to be relevant. And listen, all Hall of Fame voting and all that other stuff, all that is their opinions. That's all they are. Just like a first round pick. Oh, I was drafted in the first round. Oh, I was drafted in the 9th round. I was drafted in the 30th round. All it is an opinion. It was an opinion on one club. And so what opinions? That's all they are, right? So this person who did not vote Derek Jeter in made it about themselves. And I think they realized, oh, my God, like I'm not going to come out because I'm going to get Steve Bartman all over again. And guys
the
like
ostracized, right?
And everybody and everybody that knows a lick about baseball knows that Derek Jeter is probably the best shortstop of all time. So, come on.
So really quick, here's this side of the argument, though. Ken Griffey Jr. and others before Jeter that were great players never got in unanimously.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I can see it a little bit, where he didn't get in unanimously.
Sure.
But I think it's stupid. I'll say this at the same time, which I think you kind of can tell. I think it's stupid that one guy, when you know he's going to get in unanimously, more than likely, you're going to not vote for him. Because it looks like, to me, what you said. This guy's making a case for himself to be a hero and to get acclaim. Yep. Even though now he or she's not coming out and admitting that it was dumb.
Exactly.
It's cowardly almost at this point.
It's very cowardly.
But like I said, there's that flip side. Where guys like Ken Griffey never got in unanimously.
Right. Well,
other guys I can name, right?
And the people who did not vote for Ken Griffey Jr. unanimously have no business having a vote because they clearly aren't qualified to be in the position to have a vote. I mean, there's certain things that are just absolute no-brainers. I mean, like, really, are you...
Don't have to think about it, right?
You don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some guys that are in the Hall of Fame that are very questionable. Like, why are you in the Hall of Fame? Right? I mean, that's a whole different topic.
Yep.
But we're talking Derek Jeter, the Big Apple, the New York Yankees, put the New York Yankees on the map. When you got consummate pros like Paul O'Neill and these veterans and the David Cohns and these guys who are in Donnie baseball, right? Donnie Mattingly says as soon as Jeter walked in, they were kind of passing by, if you will. Like Jeter got a September call up on Mattingly, and I believe in Mattingly's last year
in '95.
Yeah,
because Mattingly never won.
Mm-hmm.
He was like the lone Yankee,
right.
Pretty much that never won a World Series championship, right?
And so when these guys were already pegging this guy at such a young age as a leader, and then he becomes a cat. Like, come on, in the biggest market. I mean, let's go. I mean, he's got the bunch of World Series rings, everybody knows who he is. I don't need to promote him. He's a first ballot unanimous Hall of Famer. He's a no-brainer. and shame on the person who didn't vote for him.
And we'll probably never find out the individual's name, but
no. Well,
too bad.
And well, hey, listen, they're smart on that. They were dumb by not voting Jeter in. They're very smart by keeping them anonymous.
Or cowardly. Well, but I guess they don't want to get ostracized, right? Like you said, like Steve Bartman, right? They don't want to. They fear the repercussions.
Well, but you know what though?
Of that, I guess.
How? I mean, if I'm proud of something, I'm going to admit it. All you got to do is ask me. I'll admit it, right? And if I'm the one person who didn't vote for somebody, then you know what? Own it. I mean, my guy, you made the decision. Like, own it. Like, who cares? I mean, obviously a lot of people care. Derek Jeter, but the most important person doesn't. It doesn't.
Jeter's not going to care. Yeah, I mean, every other voter is going to care, and I guess rightfully so. Right. That's what they do for a profession, you know.
And here's the thing: that person who did not vote for Derek Jeter, and I'm not sure how the NBA Hall of Fame votes go, but that same person would not have voted for Michael Jordan either. So, you know nothing about sports. Hang it up. Go sell cars or whatever the heck you got to do that you're probably a little bit more qualified to do. And in the meantime, even though we don't know who it was, we're still all laughing at you. So no.
Give it up, man. Give up your vote. Whoever you are, give it up. But here's one thing for you, Chris. Don't give up managing, and good luck being the skipper. And congratulations on the job once again with the Kingsport Mets, man. Good luck to you over there.
Vito, I appreciate it. You've been good to me, great to me, you guys, since day one. And you're a big part of this, too. You guys have given me a lot of confidence in doing what I have done up to this point. And you're always a friendly face. You're great for the USPBL. You're great for legacy that you're doing. You're great for so many people, and it's an honor to be a part of your show. So I'm truly lucky.
Well, thank you so much, and appreciate all the time.
You got it.
And I'll talk to you.
You betcha.